Well, hello, my friends. What is up? Welcome back to Dork Discourse, everybody. Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, when you can't do simple mental math. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back and joining us this week for what should be a very exciting episode. Tonight's topic, honestly, I kind of wung it today, but there's been a lot of news brewing in store with the recent Empire announcement that they are going to be covering the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. So there's been lots of new goodies, lots of influx of interviews. I know Ian McDiarmid is trending on Twitter right now. Some interesting Palpatine, behind the scenes stories that he's been sharing. So lots of prequel love. The prequels are in the air. It is so good. It is a time to be alive. And one topic that I feel like Tom and I have maybe inadvertently, I don't think we set out, I don't think it was meant to be the theme of one of our earliest Dork Discourse episodes, but I know it's a topic that we have covered, the survival, potentially, of Mace Windu. If so, how would that work? What would it look like? Everybody's got their theories, and everybody also believes, should he be alive? Would he have survived? And if so, how? But the pot has been stirred by none other than Sam Jackson himself. In a recent interview, he shared again. This is hot off the press, fresh off the press themselves. Let's check out. If all you have to do is search Sam Jackson, his name on the interwebs, and it's all over the place. But here we're gonna go straight to the source: StarWarsNewsNet.com. Mace Windu is not dead, according to Samuel L. Jackson, as he calls for a new Disney Plus show. And yes, there it is right there. He claims that Mace Windu is still alive, which I'm not sure if this is the first that he himself has ever alluded to his belief that he is, but frankly, I wouldn't be shocked if this is the first time he's fully leaned into it, because he's not, get your bag, Sam Jackson, at this rate. Why they, everybody's getting a Disney Plus series. So, I'm good for him. Good for him throwing Mace into the mix, which I know is something that would be controversial. I know a lot of people have very hard opinions. Like, no, he wouldn't have survived. Granted, this is also coming at a tumultuous time in the fandom where Star Wars is very much facing accusations that death isn't real, that death doesn't exist anymore, that death isn't final in the Star Wars universe. Many characters have been resurrected to a point where, we don't believe people necessarily fully die. At least, for example, personal experience with Bad Batch, I don't fully believe Tech is dead, and I think that's just a product of people are often revived, often modded, they get a little makeover, they come back, they're doing all right. So, is that a healthy decision for Star Wars to make, of all people, for Mace Windu? Such a kind of permanent death. I'm sure one of the arguments being that his death is a crucial stepping stone, a crucial change, point of no return for Anakin. So yes, oh my gosh, look at that cover. Oh my god, y'all know Attack of the Clones, the Attack of the Clones fan within me is geeking out. I don't know what all these weird ads are, so I'm gonna get away. Tom is joining us very shortly. He's here. I can hear him scurrying about in the background. So yes, so I want this is a safe space where you can verbalize, what do we know? We're not in control, but we're going to pretend to be in control today. We're going to play around as if this is a little writer's room. We want to hear from you guys. We want this to be interactive. When I called Tom today to give him the heads up that tonight's theme would be, theorizing if we were to imagine an 8-part, it doesn't have to be 8-part, but that seems to be the trend. But if we were given the golden pen and we could control a writer's room and conjure up an 8-part limited series for Mace Windu on Disney Plus, what would we do? And he immediately had his ideas. So we might have a full screenplay proposition coming up from Tom, but we want to hear from everybody else here as well. And again, just to circle back, feel free to, we can debate a little bit about whether it makes sense for Mace to even be alive. Whether, it should be final, whether he should rest in peace, or whether it should be left permanently vague, permanently unanswered, so that we can all just, for in perpetuity, forever, perpetually, discuss and debate all of our different theories and whatnot. What would be best? What would be best for the fandom, for the character? And again, going back to a central point that I know is a concern for me, which is that people don't seem to permanently die anymore in Star Wars. Granted, that's not entirely true, but I think Star Wars is definitely developing a reputation where death is seemingly not consequential, and people come back. People can and do come back. So is it even a good move to bring back Mace Windu? Would that be the point of no return? There's no getting around the accusations that death isn't finite in the galaxy far, far away. So again, this is a safe space. Please share if you are in the team of no, he cannot be alive. Julian, yes, to address, I am going to film. I told myself today, I looked in the mirror, I smacked myself across the face, and I said I will film a very long overdue P.O. box unboxing this week. So stay tuned. I have no excuses, I have to. But yes, thank you for the reminder. I know I owe it to you guys. It's been so freaking long. I have to just do it. I'll explain when the video does come out, but now I have accountability. I said it. I can't take it back. So it's out in the ether. But yes, bringing him back, says Visitor Zeta, undermines the pivotal moment in Revenge of the Sith. Anakin turns to the dark side by allowing Palpatine to kill Mace. This mirrors Return of the Jedi when Vader intervenes and saves Luke from Palpatine. Right, that's why I think this is a very controversial revival of a character, maybe the most consequential if it were to be revealed that Mace survived what is supposed to be a point of no return. What the heck? What on earth? What? Oh my gosh. We are in full Dork Discourse form today, y'all. Bringing it back to the OGs. He's got his binder. Oh my gosh. If you were here from the early days of Dork Discourse, our first conception, this one's for the OGs. Agent Tom, right? He looks like...
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
What an entrance.
For those who have been involved in Dork Discourse since the beginning, since the origin, you know that this has been a never-ending heated debate as part of this show.
I know, I was almost scared.
This particular topic
to open this can of worms tonight, but
it's long overdue.
It's trending, so
long overdue topic that we're here to discuss today. And I've spent my entire car ride home from work thinking about this topic and how this is going to work out. So if you give me a few minutes to concatenate my thoughts here.
What?
In the notebook.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then we can get into the debate here.
So. Okay. That being said, I'll take the wheel for a hot second. Do you even have any paper in there? Interesting. It's funny. It's probably riddled with all of our other notes from former Dork Discourse debates. Interesting. This has been like a joint shared notebook between each of us, so there's just such random notes in there.
Here we go. Fresh sheet of paper.
Hugh Mission Impossible theme, for real. Quite the entrance. Danger Zone, right, Stanley? He's got the aviators on. For real. We're covering all the Tom Cruise franchises.
Yeah, listen, this topic is long overdue.
I'm glad that you're prepared because I'm still very much here.
Torn?
I am.
Well, you're not going to be torn. Just
you don't have to sell me. This isn't a... Careful not you keep shaking the table.
Sorry.
Don't shake the table.
Before we... How many episodes?
I said 8-part, but you can do 6. But I think 8-part limited series is like... That's the prompt I gave to everybody.
Okay.
But yes, so for now we can still discuss as you get your notes finalized.
Okay. All right.
Is he alive? Should he be alive? And then as we get into the nitty-gritties of how he could possibly be alive. Jeez. Then we can get into the nuance of how he could have survived, what some of your guys' theories are. But yes, luckily Tom came with a full-fledged idea. He's got a full screenplay. He's
Full screenplay.
about to pitch to everybody. Who knows? For once, Lucasfilm, can y'all watch my my biggest fear? Even though you guys know I never try to say anything disrespectful, and we have nothing but love here. My biggest fear is always that Lucasfilm is gonna like secretly be watching my videos as if they have the time for that. I know that's like the most irrational and egotistical fear to have, but for once, anybody from Lucasfilm, hear us through the ether as we try to telepathically convey this to you. Because Tom's ready. I am not. I still don't. I haven't fully even decided. I'll get into that. We'll start with. Maybe we should start with my poor theories, and then get into Tom's. But I don't. My theories are still undeveloped because I too. See, it's hard, and this is where I have a soft spot, and this is why I'm torn. Because, for example, last week we were debating whether there should be a Kenobi season 2. Which, sidebar, when Empire teased their little hello there announcement and announced that there was going to be an announcement within 24 hours, and everybody thought it was going to be a Kenobi season 2 drop reveal, that literally happened the day after we had done Dork Discourse last week. And that episode, I think I went on and on. Was it last week? I guess that all was last. It's been a while. Time flies, or I don't know, but I feel like a lot has transpired since then, but the biggest thing was that tease from Empire, which of course ended up being the, anniversary of Phantom Menace and all of the coverage that they were going to be doing on that, the interviews with all of the original cast and whatnot. But prior to that, of course, in typical fashion, when you give the Star Wars fandom a grain of any hint of some sort of tease, we will take it and run with it. And as many of us did, we conceptualized that perhaps it was going to lead to a Kenobi Season 2 announcement. And that night prior, I had literally been, not roasting, but really, really believing I don't think there needs to be a Kenobi Season 2. But as I was saying during that conversation, yes, that's my personal belief. I don't think we need it, but it's so hard to ignore and deny when the actors themselves are verbally campaigning for it, and have expressed, Ewan McGregor recently expressed that he would love a Kenobi season 2 and he wants to come back. Hayden Christensen wants to come back and do Anakin Skywalker. Now here's Sam Jackson, still kicking, still the legend he is, saying he wants to come back and be Mace Windu again, and that he believes his character is alive. And it's really hard to compete with, that was really quick, it's really hard to compete when the actual actor themselves, who epitomizes that character, poured their heart and soul into bringing that character to life, it's very hard to disagree with them. The person who didn't create, but with via their performance created that role. When to hear them express that they want to return, it's like, how can I say no? And how, he knows Mace Windu as well as anybody. He freaking played the man. So when the actual actor themselves expresses a desire to return, it's like, I might not think it's right, but I can't say no. It's a gift. We should be grateful at every opportunity when a former actor in this franchise actually wants to return, when in very recent history following the sequel trilogy, they did not shy away from making it known, some of the actors, that they had no intentions of wanting to do Star Wars anytime soon, which is their prerogative, their career, their life, totally up to them and their call. But it's disheartening to hear things like that. So when you have some of these epic legacy characters and actors who want to come back, how can we say no? But agreed, Lord Fanel. In my opinion, he's dead. Way dead. Careful. Oh, you gonna plug? I forgot about that. Because it's not really related to tonight's. Careful, because the lip gloss is over there. So, he's big dead, but Keller and Beck is still around. True, this is true. There's potential there. Talk about another beloved actor who deserves to come back in the limelight. Granted, he totally got the spotlight he deserves. Ahmed Best, kind of a little resurgence after the retaliation he faced And we know the battles that he went through, the scrutiny following, you know, his performance as Jar Jar Binks. So it was amazing to see him in the limelight again in that awesome role. So it would be incredible to see more of that if they dove more in. Definitely potential there with him. So yes, tonight is interactive. Definitely, if you guys have ideas, I think most of this we're about to deep dive into what Tom has in store for us. And you guys know, if you've tuned into Dork Discourse, he has an imagination. So without further ado, I'll put the prompt back on the screen for anybody, if anyone tunes in late, or if you want to participate. And again, feel free. This is not meant to be a hardcore debate about whether canonically he is dead or alive. I know we all have our own opinions, and that's kind of the beauty about why this has been kind of a vague topic up for discussion amongst the fans. I think there's just been a lot of fun, healthy banter surrounding people's different theories about this. So without... I feel like the image of Mace in the corner is staring into my soul. I know, I was like, I kind of want to just keep this up the whole time. It's hilarious. So, without further ado, once again, if you could write a Disney Plus limited series about Mace's survival, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be a whole, what Tom has for us this evening, a whole screenplay, of course. It can even just be if you have theories about how he survived. How would it have happened? Is it even possible that it could have happened? Because that's where most of my theories lie. And I know... I saw Star Wars Meg. She was actually a big inspo for tonight's topic. I saw her tweet that there would definitely need to be some explanation, heavy-duty explanation as to why he, you know, if he did survive, why was he MIA during the time of the Empire? The age-old question that it comes to with any Star Wars character, if they were alive, why were they not helping during this tumultuous time period? You know, why would they have been absent? Well... we can dive right in. We're gonna get started with Tom's.
You want the answer?
Is that?
Because I have a great answer to that question.
Here we go.
Before we dive into that, we're gonna take a break from our sponsor this evening.
Quick break.
The other division of Catherine LaSalle LLC, aka the art division. Chief of that division recently put out a brand new piece in anticipation of the long-awaited Avatar: The Last Airbender live-action Netflix remake. So, it appears you have started to blast on social media. But for those who might not have seen it, this is the latest piece from the Catherine LaSalle LLC art division. And it's great. It's one of my favorite pieces of yours personally. So for those Avatar fans that are looking for some nice new wall decor,
some of them have actually already placed orders.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. You
are
awesome.
Sean and Charlie are the early birds with the orders, which just made my day, literally. Thank you guys.
But yeah, it's cool because this is the original. So
that's one's up for grabs if anyone wants to make an offer.
This is the original. I think it'll probably go back on the wall come Avatar time.
If anyone has a handsome offer, though, not post.
So yes. Anyway, just wanted to.
Thank you. Tom's my biggest hype man. Before we let Tom take it away, BC Flems. Sorry, is that what the username is?
John Blake.
BC.
Subscriber. Yes.
Subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. And John Blake, welcome and thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Really appreciate it. If you've ever seen the movie Jumper, Mace Windu came back to get revenge on Anakin by tasing him. Oh wait, that's the one with Hayden Christensen, and he can like teleport right from place to place. I have not seen that movie in a long time, so I've totally forgotten about that. I'll have to go and rewatch for that scene alone. That is the other. You make a really good point though, John. If Mace is alive, would he have sought revenge? Do we ship to the United Kingdom? I believe we do.
Yes.
Yes, we do. We have international shipping. It is, of course, a little bit pricier.
Yes.
But it is possible. We have done it. We've shipped to, I think, Ireland is like one of our biggest other
I believe
locations.
France.
Yeah.
Someone has ordered something from France.
So it's possible, definitely.
Right now it's set up for the UK and most of Western Europe. Well, I think actually probably all of Europe. is currently configured in the store. But if anybody from somewhere outside of those regions, don't hesitate to reach out, submit a form, submit a request. There's various contact forms on Catherine's website. So if you go there and if you're interested in purchasing some art, and your shipping location, your location of residence is not on there, then please reach out, because certainly we can figure something out and work through it. So.
Yeah. Can you guys tell which one of us is the business savvy person in this partnership? Thank goodness Tom is. Well, sidebar aside.
Sponsorship shout out over.
All right. Brace yourselves, folks, because we're going to deep dive in. Tom's got his theories.
It's rude to talk with sunglasses on, so I will address.
You got comments, though. Very cool.
This is a deep conversation.
You need to make eye contact.
So yes, we need to make virtual eye contact with everybody watching.
All right.
Not that it's rude to talk with sunglasses on, obviously. That was an overstatement. But for a situation like this, where we have a very serious topic, we need to make sure that we have that connection and we're all on the same page. So without further ado, the topic this evening, if you could write a Disney Plus series about Mace's survival, what would it be? How would it go? What would the plot points be? I'm going to start out by saying that in consolidating my thoughts here, I think it makes sense for 6 episodes at most.
Okay.
No more than 6 episodes. It's where I'm feeling right now.
That's fine.
So we're gonna say no more than 6 episodes. And I do have a rough outline. I have a rough outline of what the main story beats would be, and how this could all play out in a way that is, one, the story is compelling on its own in isolation without needing to tie into the greater Star Wars lore, but that it will also fall very much within the greater Star Wars lore.
Oh, yes.
And that there's not going to be any type of changes or holes or open questions that would impact any other potential characters that
very good point.
would live on beyond.
It has to suit the canon.
Yes,
good
exactly.
Point.
So, yes, without further ado, obviously, first episode is going to start off talking about, literally immediately from where we last see him in Revenge of the Sith, of falling and literally seeing that immediate next steps of how he survives the fall, which is the first point. Maybe he doesn't actually have to show him falling, but literally him getting up off the ground or landing, whatever he does to survive the fall, which is probably just land. And then what does he have to do from then? Well, Coruscant is now going to be crawling with clone troopers that are trying to execute Order 66. And the interesting thing with Mace is that, given that, what we see, no one knows that he is alive at this point, he has to find shelter, fix his wounds, survive any type of clone troopers that would cross his path in a such way that is stealthy, to where he will not be caught by anyone affiliated with the newly created empire. And so he will have to leave no witnesses alive.
Oh, really?
Any witness that would be any such way affiliated with the empire, any clone in particular, there could be no witnesses. So essentially what he's going to do is he's going to survive. He's going to go try and find shelter to heal. He's going to kill any clone trooper in his path, like we see Yoda and Obi-Wan do at the temple. And then ultimately he's going to...
I thought you were talking about, like, if he lands on a random street, like a random alleyway.
No, he's not going to kill civilians.
Oh my god, that's what I thought you were talking about. Because, well, there's probably going to be bounties and stuff for... That's part of what I was
This is like immediate. Like, he literally hits the ground, starts running.
Okay.
Any clone is...
And this is pre-Order 66, so nobody would... Wait, he doesn't know what Order 66 is.
No, he doesn't know. So he's going to literally, within his survival, he's going to be going to shelter. Order 66 is going to be happening in real time.
You think he's not going to inherently see a clone on the street and ask them for help, you think?
He could. That's a possibility.
But why would he leave no... You're saying after he gets word
he knows,
of Order 66?
No, he already knows that Palpatine is evil. He knows that the Republic is over. Does he know that the clones are going to turn? No, not necessarily. Right. But that's the army affiliated with Palpatine. He knows Palpatine controls it. He knows Anakin has turned to the dark side. So he's got to be
So it's
suspicious
trust
of something
issues.
up.
He has trust issues.
Yes, I'm sure he's skeptical. And yeah, immediately after he lands, if he lands in a huddle of clone troopers, are they going to start shooting him? No, because Palpatine hasn't delivered the order yet.
He's still got 5 minutes.
Yes, he still has some period of time. That's not too much longer because it happens in the same night to where Order 66 is executed. So the first episode is going to be surviving the fall, dealing with possibly having to deal with Order 66 in real time. The thing with him, though, is that if he does get involved with clones during Order 66, none of those clones can survive because Palpatine and Vader and anyone else cannot know that he survived.
He doesn't have a weapon, so he's extremely vulnerable. He doesn't have
The lightsaber went out the window with him.
You think he found it?
Yes. Yeah.
It conveniently lands right on top of it.
I'm sure it's close. It's a giant dome. The building he fell out of is a giant dome. So he's gonna hit the side and then like slide down. So with the saber. I think he finds a saber. Anyway. So I think one interesting thing with episode 1 would be, yes, you see him react to Order 66 in real time, but he obviously survives in a way that he also has to leave no witnesses from the clones, so I think it's not a full outbreak. Like he's not, it would be pure coincidence, chance that he runs into a clone and then realizes, then the clone starts attacking him, then he kills that clone.
Yeah, Matthew
it's going to be different.
Matthew makes a good point. The billowing smoke from the Jedi Temple would be pretty hard to miss. So he'd probably be able to put 2 and 2 together very soon.
Exactly. So that's the first episode. Then the second episode is, okay, he realizes what's happening after the temple raid is over and he's laid low. Then he goes back to the temple in search of help, in search of finding out what happens. The key piece here is that he has to show up after Obi-Wan and Yoda have already been there. And clearly he's wounded. Clearly he needs to recover. So he's not going to see the smoke billowing out of the temple and go in there full steam ahead and try and face Anakin and the clones all one-on-one because he's in a weakened state. He knows that he's not going to be able to do that. So he's going to wait until it settles down and he's physically recovered. And then he's going to go back to the temple looking for answers in a way that is not barging down the door like Yoda and Obi-Wan did, but in a much stealthier way to try and figure out, like kind of like a investigator to try and figure out exactly what happened.
Yes.
So that'll be the second episode. Him going to the temple, figuring out what happened. At that point, he's going to see the footage of Anakin slaughtering everybody. He could also see footage or a trace that Yoda and Obi-Wan survived and that they were there. And
true.
that realization that Obi-Wan and Yoda did survive is going to lead us into the third episode, which is Mace first seeks out Obi-Wan and Yoda. He knows they survived. He goes to seek them out. Exactly how he meets up with them and actually finds them. I think the only way it works is if he were to meet up with them before they actually separate, but there's some holes there. So for argument's sake, I'm going to say that since he was second only to Yoda in terms of power level on the Jedi Council, he is going to some way figure out how to probably contact Yoda first. He's gonna find Yoda. And then they're going to have end of episode 3, he makes contact with them. He figures it out. He finds a way to make contact with them. How that happens is like one of the bigger holes in this theory here, but he's going to find him. And then episode 4 is going to be the turning point of this whole story. It could be end of episode 3 into 4 or beginning of 4. 3 and 4, the middle of the series. Ultimately, it's a catalyst of where the story is going to go here. And the reason I say catalyst is because there's one giant elephant in the room that Obi-Wan and Yoda know about that Mace cannot know about. and they don't want to tell anyone else, even Mace Windu, what they know. And that is that Anakin has children. At that point in time, Obi-Wan and Yoda also think that Anakin is dead. They think Anakin's dead.
Yeah.
Mace goes to them, confronts them with Anakin turned. He killed all these people. Obi-Wan and Yoda say, yes, we know, we agree.
That's old news.
However, he's dead. Obi-Wan confronted him, and he died on Mustafar.
So they think.
So Obi-Wan and Yoda think Anakin's dead. Mace now thinks he's dead. Obi-Wan and Yoda do not tell Mace about the children. And the tension in this scene is going to be so powerful because as the audience, you know that Obi-Wan and Yoda have this dark secret.
Yeah.
They know that Padme is the mother of Anakin's children. They know that she died. They know that their plan and why they're isolated and why they are in exile and out of the fight when Mace is trying to get back in the fight is because they have to protect these children. In their minds, these children are the only ones who are going to have enough Force connection to combat Vader and redeem, or not Vader in this case, the Emperor, because they think that Vader is dead. They think these children are the only hope because these children have the midichlorian inheritance of the Chosen One. And the Chosen One is dead. The kids are alive. If anyone else besides them knows the kids are alive, it's a direct threat to the kids. So they don't tell Mace. They do not tell Mace about the kids. Because they also know that Mace is particularly arguably biased against Anakin.
I'm assuming by this point that was going to be my question. He has revealed to them what went down. Yeah, so that would be a little bit of a liability.
Exactly. They will sense that Mace is out for revenge and looking for them. If Anakin's still alive, he just like Obi-Wan and Yoda think, okay, I got to take this guy out. Not only this guy, but the Emperor has to be taken out. And so based on the story recountment from Obi-Wan and Yoda, Mace is going to he's going to know that, okay, Palpatine's still alive. Palpatine's still out there. Anakin's dead, so that's good. Not really, but in Mace's mind, yes. But the real point of tension is going to be, obviously Mace is going to try and recruit Obi-Wan and Yoda to join him to go fight the Emperor, to go find the Emperor and kill him and end this whole thing. And because of the kids, because of that secret, Obi-Wan and Yoda are going to reject him. They're going to turn him away. They're going to say, no, we can't. We lost. Blah, blah, blah. We're out of the fight. It's not our time. We need to wait this out. Palpatine's too powerful. They're going to spit all these excuses without telling Mace the truth. And there's going to be a giant wedge shoved in between Obi-Wan and Yoda and Mace. And it's just going to...
I feel like I know where this is
going.
going.
Mace is going to be... He's going to be mind blown. He's going to be like, listen, you two are like apparently the only Jedi that survived this thing, and you're two of the most powerful, and you're not going to help me fight Palpatine? You're not going to come with me to kill him? I had him beat. I literally had him on the edge of the window, saber to his neck, and if it wasn't for Obi-Wan, your stupid, egotistical, mind-wiped POS apprentice, I would have killed him, and we wouldn't have ever had this thing. And he's just going to become... his thirst for revenge, and I'm not saying he's going to the dark side. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying this is going to be a turning point to Mace where he realizes that these two, for whatever reason, the reasons that they're telling me that don't make sense, have given up. They've lost hope. So now it's up to me by myself to go end this. And I need to do whatever steps are necessary to go kill Palpatine and end this. So he's going to leave. And then from there, episode 5, Mace sets out to Coruscant on the quest to hunt down Palpatine.
This is good, says James. Yeah, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat.
So
I'm a little...
Mace, yet again, has to find a way to go undercover, go completely incognito, put the pieces together to figure out Palpatine's whereabouts, where he is, what his schedule is, when's the best time to attack him. And then, so the end of episode 5 will end with he knows where he is, and he sets out to confront him. He knows exactly where he is. And then episode 6, the grand finale, Mace Windu confronts Palpatine.
He drops
Palpatine
him.
doesn't believe that he's alive. And they have an exchange of dialogue that is much more intense and ruthless than it was in Revenge of the Sith, because now Mace Windu knows all the things that Palpatine has done. Order 66, all the Jedi are gone. Obi-Wan and Yoda are cowards. They've decided to exile themselves rather than try and fight him once again, even with the help of Mace Windu. And so in Mace's mind, he's the only thing standing between any shot at restoring peace to the galaxy or an eternal reign of the Empire and Palpatine.
Ooh, I love all the episode titles. Everyone's suggesting episode 6, A Date with Destiny. Episode 5, Fool's Errand. Yes, this is what I wanted. Everyone turn into a writer's room tonight.
Okay, but
all right.
So they have this exchange, but here's the best part. Here's the best part. We know who Mace would really be after. And while Palpatine and them are having this dialogue, if they start to fight, Palpatine brings out his dog, which is Vader. And surprise, surprise, Mace is abruptly faced with the truth that this asthmatic robot is here and it's his dog. They're going to fight. He's going to realize it's Anakin. And both of them are going to let their true feelings out because they know they both didn't like each other. And after Mace sees Anakin slaughter all the Jedi in the temple and realizes that this masked mechanical human is what's left of Vader, he's gonna blow his lid. He's gonna lose it. And so is Vader. Vader's gonna lose it. And Palpatine's just gonna sit there watching the show. Ultimately, at this point, Mace and Vader are both crippled. Mace less so. So Mace is, I think, going to get the upper hand. I think he's going to trash talk Anakin, get under his skin like no one else can, because he knows the full truth and doesn't have the love for him that Obi-Wan had, or the gracefulness and understanding that Yoda for him had. Mace never understood it. Mace was always skeptical. And so Mace is going to let him have it. He's going to verbally abuse Anakin and Vader and get under his skin. And maybe he pushes the wrong button to where Vader just unlocks some true chosen one force strength that just overpowers Mace. But I think ultimately, Mace is also going to be emotionally distraught. And you have Vader, who's fully into the dark side now. And this is going to be the most rage-infused Vader that we ever see, because he's fresh off of the wound of losing his wife, turning the dark side, feeling betrayed. I think this is the Vader that's going to fight with the most rage and passion out of any point in the timeline. So that fight will be brutal. It will be full of rage and hatred for both parties that they have for each other, that has been building over decades. Paired with the fact that one of them betrayed the entire Jedi Order and slaughtered a bunch of people.
Well, also to play into the reasoning people have pointed out, Anakin seemingly killing Windu cemented his destiny and was a turning point for his mentality. His complete emotional state took a switch and did a 360, and he was not the same from that point on. So it's like, to see, for him, that was his moment of rebirth, and so to be confronted with that again would truly send him into a, you can't undo everything I've already done, you know, the self-hatred that he does possess in regards to all of, you know, his actions. You know, he can't, to be faced with Mace and know he has to really finish it, you know, he certainly wouldn't want any of that to be undone by him. So yeah, it would help address how pivotal it was for Anakin, and now here for Vader.
Yeah. So I think the best way this plays out is that, Vader and Mace do the bulk of the fighting. They're pardon my French, shit talking each other left and right, getting into each other's head. Brutal choreography. I think Mace would have to get Vader into a state of vulnerability. And Palpatine's just watching, waiting for that moment, because he knows Vader's not necessarily used to his suit. He's fighting off pure adrenaline and hatred.
It's kind of
and
like
rage.
a trial period, yeah.
And yeah, it is a trial period.
He kind of wants to see.
And so the moment that that Mace is on the verge of ending Anakin and turning towards Palpatine, that's when Palpatine strikes. And that's when Palpatine strikes with rage and ferocity, because this apprentice that he spent decades trying to groom one, just lost all his limbs in a fight to Obi-Wan, who he should have beaten, and then now is about to die due to Mace Windu when they should have killed him prior. So Palpatine at this point doesn't have any patience. He's going to use this as a teaching point for Vader and as a threat to say, listen, you almost died again. I just saved you. If you don't get it together and you don't fully embrace who you are and learn to be your new self, you're going to die. But Palpatine's going to step in, unleash Rise of Skywalker level crazy force lightning and force ability and whatever he needs to just brutally kill Mace in that moment.
And that's actually
straight up end him.
That's wise, because a big question would be, what does Vader still have that he's wrapped around Palpatine's finger? He's everything Palpatine promised him other than the power and the Empire. The biggest thing for him was Padme, and that's since lost. So what is his reasoning for staying around? This being the trial run, and another opportunity for Palpatine to save Vader's life, truly would really create a fresh debt that would be like, all right, that's why he's staying around.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It lines up.
Yeah.
It lines up. So yes, the end of the show will literally be, it'll turn into a Palpatine Vader teaching moment. But Mace would undoubtedly be killed, without question, brutally by Palpatine.
I feel like I need to cue some sad music. Wow.
And so the epilogue would be, well, what we see. Mace is for sure dead. Vader almost died. So he, like you said, Palpatine has another chain on him. And then Obi-Wan and Yoda at that point, they've made peace with the fact that Mace is going to go die. In their minds, if
they're letting their
if they hear from Mace again, then they know Palpatine's dead and it's over. If they never hear from him,
they know what happened.
Then they know what happened. And
that's
they're going to very quickly assume they know what happened. So
that is brutal.
So, anyway, that is the 6-part Mace Windu Returns series.
Disney, are you listening?
That I drafted in the few hours since you told me that was going to be the topic. So,
wow, that's definitely more than I have.
I have not really been reading the chat while going over that.
Well, everyone's had some really good episode titles.
Excited to see what people have to say to that.
Julian, thank you so much for the generous super chat, my friend.
Julian!
Do you ever wonder in The New Hope why, Uncle Owen looks at 3PO and thinking, why are they back? Oh, remember when they left with Anakin and Attack of the Clones? That's right. Remember the droid minds were wiped, but not Owen and Beru's. That's a good point. That's actually something I've never considered. He's met 3PO and R like before. I wonder, would he remember
3PO
that?
still, was he finished? He was finished in Attack of the Clones, right? He was gold and finished? Or was he still gray? Was he gray and finished? He was finished, right? Yeah. Okay.
You know what, Julian? Good. That got into my brains a little bit. Wait, what? Because I've never thought about that. Yeah. 3PO lived with them. Until, I guess Anakin and Padme took him back, right? Because he goes with them when they go to Geonosis. But no.
Yeah, they could. And maybe they do, but they don't say anything, because every scene we see him in, it's with Luke.
Maybe he's just forgotten by that point.
I mean, as soon as you see him, like, Luke tells them, like, oh, this droid's on a mission. He's looking for Obi-Wan. At that point, they know, like, okay, we can't tell Luke anything, but I feel like in their heads, I feel like they would have to know.
He was gray/silver. All right, good point, Sean. Good point. I have to go flip our baked potatoes. You catch up on the chat.
Okay.
And see, I love somebody said Shatterpoint. I think that's a great.
Yeah,
That
well,
would be a
that's
great
that book.
title.
That's a book title, the Mace
Oh,
Windu
that's
book
great.
title. So it makes sense. But yeah, what do you guys think of that outline? Does it align with what your outlines would be? James says, "Well done, thank you, James. Glad you would be excited with that. Glad you like that. I like that premise. But yeah, definitely curious how everybody's feeling about that. I mean, in my opinion, I think that story on its own would be such a fantastic standalone story, because overall it wouldn't take place over a ton of time. So and with the story points that were laid out in that amount of time episode wise, which I think it's better to have 6 versus 8, and given what Mace would have to do and the conversations he'd have to have and the individuals he'd have to confront, each episode would be packed with intense character development and feelings and emotion. Bird Church goes, I'm liking how Yoda, Obi, and Mace don't align. Yeah, I think that's pivotal. I think that would be crucial to have this story be one, accepted by people who wouldn't want Mace to be alive. And it would also make sense that Obi-Wan and Yoda still keep the secret of the kids hidden. They know Mace is alive, but after their confrontation would leave off at the end of episode 4, they would be at peace with, okay, we have made our decision. The kids are what we think is the best chance to, in the long term, to ultimately undo all the disaster that Palpatine has done. Best case scenario, Mace goes off and kills him. And then obviously if that happens, they'll hear about it and the nightmare will be over. But if they don't, then they'll very quickly, they've already made peace with, as soon as Mace leaves them, they've already made peace with that
I
he's
am
gone.
a little
They're
bit
never gonna see him again.
obsessed with that internal conflict. Because if it weren't for the children, who really are the only kind of shred left of hope for the future that they all clung to, the trio, Bill, Obi-Wan, Yoda, recognizing the power and having to keep them alive and separate and secret, the internal conflict that creates for Yoda and Obi-Wan if they were to really have to choose the future over their friend in the past, and that is the last piece of their past that they have. It's like, oh, look, another one of us made it, like Mace, to have that kind of realization and discovery and hope in that, but then have to come to the conclusion that you have to abandon him and, in a way, let your friend go to their death and feel like his blood's on their hands because they had to choose the future of the galaxy
without telling him to.
Yeah, that's such good internal conflict.
Yeah. And I mean, from their perspective, even without the kids, like, Mace goes and tells them, yes, I almost had him until Anakin stepped in. I would have beat him. But then Yoda is like, well, listen, I just fought him. Anakin wasn't there, and I couldn't even beat him. So there's going to be questions in terms of, they're going to be pessimistic in terms of Mace's ability in a much weaker state to go up and actually confront Sidious and defeat him.
Interesting, though, because Mace, if he really truly went to try to rally Yoda and Obi-Wan, and if they had to reject him, decline him in his last endeavor, the last stand, like, I think at that point, does he really have anything left to live for? I think he would just go head straight on into that, like, knowing he's got nothing left to lose. That was his last shred of his former life, finding Obi-Wan and Yoda. I'm talking about this as if it's real. I knew this was going to be a bad idea, only in the sense that now I just want all this to happen.
Listen, there's ways you can do it. If they want to tell this story, Samuel Jackson's on board. Listen, that outline is one feasible path. I think that it makes sense.
Take it.
Lord Fowl, you make a great point. So you brought Windu back only to kill him again. I like it. And yeah, ultimately, that would have to happen, because if he doesn't die immediately in the near term, then the questions of where is he in Kenobi, where is he in
Yeah.
during the Galactic Civil War, the stuff you were talking about at the beginning, like it's too many. Yeah, all that
Ifs.
totally derails. Like if he just, oh, he survives, but then he's incognito and goes into exile like Obi-Wan and Yoda, never to be seen again until Mandalorian time frame, like that, I don't like that idea at all. I think that that is a horrible way to go with this. But the benefit of, yes, him dying again at the end is, yes, you see him die, you get that great conflict, but you get insight that we have not seen before of Palpatine and Vader's early relationship after Revenge of the Sith, and Palpatine basically getting another leash on Vader, saying, "Listen,
Yeah.
clearly you're not what you once were, Chief. You're out of your prime.
Chief.
Stop reflecting on the glory days. You need me
Yeah.
more than I need you. So learn your
Keeping
place.
him entrenched. Yeah.
Step in line. Otherwise, you're in a world of hurt. And your life could be way more miserable than it already is."
Mm.
So yes, Mace would be ultimately used as an avenue to get us to that point, and he would just die again. However, it would be a much better death than the death that we currently have of him just throwing his hands up and getting force pushed lightning out the window. So
I like Patrick Bateman. You bring up a topic that I often wonder every time I watch Revenge of the Sith. Do you think Mace really had Palpatine beat, or do you think that Palpatine was kind of just holding back and acting weak in order to turn Anakin? I genuinely do believe Mace did beat Palpatine in that moment. However, the entire exchange after that, "Don't kill me, please, help, help," Anakin, blah, blah, blah. That entire time, he had the ability to just, he could have,
yeah,
he
could
could have lightning struck the second he was backed into the wall, but he waited. He kept it in. So, well, yes, I do think Mace genuinely actually won in that moment. And with his mission, his intent, he's too dangerous to be kept alive. Granted, even if Anakin hadn't intervened, I think Palpatine would have acted in self-preservation and still killed Mace, regardless. But I do think in that moment he had him beat. I don't think that was part of the ruse, but I think everything after that is child's play, because Palpatine knows at any second he can end it, even if Anakin didn't step in. In fact, he did it first. Anakin didn't even make a move. Or wait, no, Anakin
chopped his arm off.
Yes. He does the lightning first. Mace holds him off.
Yeah.
And then Anakin chops his arm. So yeah, even before Anakin intervened, he still was flashing. So, but I do think Mace won originally in the moment. I think, but I do question that every time. I really do like your channel and the content that you put out. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
that makes me happy. And welcome if this is your first Dork Discourse. We're here every week, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Well, unfortunately, I don't have as thorough of an idea, and I don't think I really even have a fully formed idea, because I'm still toying with how I would want to address the reality, which is that Mace was absent, MIA, not present for anything pivotal down later in the history, the timeline. So I think the biggest area where we disagree, first off, for once, you guys know whenever I let him get creative and go off and let his imagination run wild, I usually feel like I ran on your parade and say I don't think that's plausible, and I don't think Disney would do that. All of that feels actually very plausible, and that's why for once I'm like, wow, I actually want to see that come to fruition, because it does feel possible, and it addresses everything in the timeline, creates interesting new internal conflict for characters. It would be something, So for once, I'm not going to be here to rain on your parade and say that's completely out of the question. They would never do that. I actually do think that's entirely possible. The biggest thing that we disagree on, though, I think Mace, your proposition requires Mace to be in good enough shape that he survives the fall and is able to pretty much pretty quickly get a hold on the situation and start acting accordingly. And that he, granted you only gave a quick layout, but he seemingly doesn't need much help to get back on his feet because he's very seemingly driven by the revenge in your plot.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest difference.
There was still recovery time baked in there. He didn't go immediately to the temple the night of. He was aware after he initially survived Order 66. He sees the temple burning. He's like, all right, I don't know what happened. Clearly it's not good. I'm not in best shape. So he goes, he gets a knife. He goes to the Coruscant hospital undercover, says, yeah, I had an accident. Someone ran over my arm with a speeder and it fell off, got stuck in the engine block. They fix him up a new arm. He lays incognito and recovers, sits in the Bacta for a couple days, and then he goes to the temple. Anyway.
I defer there, and I think if he survives, he has like a shred of his life force left, and if anything, had to use perhaps the last of his force to stop himself mid-fall before, because, the amount of stories, that's not a story that you can survive. That fall, it's not like he was on the second floor of the building, you know what I'm saying?
You remember Attack of the Clones when he literally jumps off the top of the arena?
Yes.
And
that was planned.
Ahsoka jumps off a gunship
that
from
was
like
planned.
a
What I'm
mile
saying,
high
yes,
and lands on Mandalore? Okay.
I'm saying he would have to use his force to stop himself abruptly before, if he doesn't already accidentally ping, 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 ping. That's an awful visual. But if he's not already, he's falling into a cityscape, so there's skyscrapers, cars. He very likely could have landed on somebody's speeder, like they had the ships flying in the space lanes, on Coruscant. So he very easily something could have broken his fall before he would have had to prevent it himself.
See, that's my biggest problem with that, is because we have so many super lucky deaths avoided in Star Wars, where if they take the approach of, oh, there's no question he survived, he just lands.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Then that's so much better, because then it's like, oh, he didn't miraculously survive. He didn't get lucky.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want him to get lucky. I want him to stop himself.
If he
uses the last of the force that he has left, because we see, for example, Yoda, one of the most powerful Jedi, wasn't witness to everything that just happened, all of the execution, everything that went down during Order 66, but he felt it, and it crippled him in that moment. So for Mace to have felt the lightning, felt Anakin's betrayal, also with the pressure in that moment of knowing that this is the turning point for the galaxy and everything is in his hands, and now he has one less hand and it's all gone to shiz, I think he very much could have had way more of a severance of the Force, like right then and there, and uses the last bit of it to stop himself before he pulls what Obi-Wan does with Leia in the Kenobi series, and then I think he's just done, out for the count. There. Not to mention he's sizzling. He's crispy. He uses the last of his life force left to save himself, but then kind of just lays there ready to die, So this is where
But then how's he gonna save? That's gonna be the random medic rolls on him on the street.
Oh my god! You're not even letting me get to my next point.
Sorry.
I let you talk episode for episode.
Done.
From there, this is where I'm torn. I don't know whether I think a way to address all of this. Now, this is maybe a cop-out, but I think it could be very interesting to explore. I'm debating whether I want him to have amnesia after all of that, because he's been singed, he's been torched. His nerves, the brain damage, he probably, I don't know, I feel like he could have amnesia or something like that. Regardless, he uses the last of his force, and he wakes up, no matter what happens, whether he wakes up with amnesia or not, he has no force left. He used the last shred of it to save himself. So whether he wakes up on his own, I kind of want it to be that he's, as I suggested, like he falls into an alley or something like that. Like he doesn't land on a main city street in Coruscant, but he falls into an alley and is maybe there for like days. Granted, yes, you make a good point. There's the threat of the clones are probably patrolling and just stalking the city now, lurking everywhere to try to look. And I'm curious if Mace even, you know, of course it doesn't happen in Revenge of the Sith, but I'm curious if he even said to people, I feel like Palpatine would have wanted to find the body of Windu, you know? He probably would have had his henchmen out looking, like Windu got yeeted out the window, find him. He probably would have wanted to see concrete proof, or even just for his own sick purposes, find him and bring him to me.
That's an awesome point. And if Lucasfilm was set that he's dead, Mace's body would have been the body in Kenobi in Fortress Inquisitorius, not Sanube. It would have been Mace.
I know. I think
it would have been Mace. If they were set that he's dead, it would have been Mace's body. And even if they did do that, the story that we talked about earlier still would have worked, because Palpatine literally would have killed him, had the body, and thrown him in the thing. But the fact that the body was not there, it shows that, like, that's the most obvious Jedi you would expect to be frozen in sap, would be Mace Windu's body. That would be the biggest impact, far and away, no question. If they were 100% convinced he was dead, or if they had this story laid out already, they would have put Mace's body in there. But since they didn't,
so you're thinking
leaving
that
it
they
open.
believe
Yes, they have to have. If Samuel L. Jackson is saying, yes, I want to do it. Yes, I want to do it. I want to be involved. He's alive. Let's go. Obviously, they got to give that some thought, some realistic thought, and how a story could work. And I think a Kenobi story that they try to pull off is way harder to pull off and way more impactful to the overall canon, dealing with the children of Anakin and Kenobi leaving Tatooine. Like, these are like 40-year-old, like, literally since the beginning of Star Wars, the understanding was Obi-Wan watched over Luke since the Clone Wars on Tatooine. And then the Kenobi show attempted to mess with that, which is like a crucial story point. So I think that of the two stories, the Kenobi story is the way ballsier,
no, yours is safer.
More aggressive story that is the biggest risk to altering the canon. And overall, they pulled that one off in terms of the concept of Obi-Wan leaving and confronting Vader. The biggest question I have, which we kind of talked about last week, is Obi-Wan leaves, Anakin not fully dead yet again, which is kind of like, okay, this happened before. We know that in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan thought he killed him, but like there's no way he would have thought he killed him again. But maybe he did, because he intentionally broke his respirator electronics, then cracked his mask. So maybe he thinks that he did leave him to die. So that's like the one thing. But in terms of handling the children and Obi-Wan leaving and how Obi-Wan and Vader come face to face again, like that whole thing, I think they nailed that part. It all makes sense. And it ties in with lines in the original trilogy and things that we know about that time period. So overall, I think that's the way bigger impact, the much ballsier, riskier story to tell. And they already told that. I think this story is basically a Mace Solo story.
That's why, for once, I gave it to you, that I think it's plausible, and you addressed everything that would have, you know, nothing altered severely the canon as we know it. There's no body because Mace is based on the paper. Right. Yeah, no, I remember watching Kenobi, Patrick Bateman. Imagine if they had showed Mace's body frozen in the Inquisitorius and the Kenobi show. That would have been so crazy. Yeah. I remember watching that as he was approaching, and as soon as I realized what it was, I was like, oh, yeah. I really thought they were going to.
I was. I'm pretty sure most people were. They're like, oh my God. And if it had been Mace, that whole episode would be looked at
differently.
So much differently. Yeah. It would have been the impact. I mean, I just got goosebumps and chills thinking about it. Like, literally all over my body just thinking about that.
Yeah.
If they had pulled that off happening. Sup, Mom? How's it going?
He's looking sharp, because whenever we're not having, it's not actually a full-fledged debate tonight. I thought we were going to be debating more.
Brought out the stop. Anticipation.
But whenever we have debates or think we're going to get into heated discussion, Tom looks sharp. He brings out his notebook, his suit jacket.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had such an anticipated topic of. Yeah. I was expecting to be going back and forth with you for an hour
our biggest disagreement is that your rendition of Mace's survival, he's quicker to get back on his feet. Yes, he has some downtime. I think Mace, whether he has amnesia or not, no, he's just absolutely hanging on by his last nerve, his last cell, his last
Like a
blood
nerve
cell.
is sticking out of his hand and he's literally hanging by that nerve on the side of the...
no.
Okay.
Ew.
Oh.
No, he's truly hanging on with the last shred of life that he has in him, and kind of just doesn't. He can't even try. He lays down to accept whatever is about to happen. So I picture he's in. He lands somewhere ambiguous enough that nobody sees him, nobody notices. You know, he's in an alley, and this is also Coruscant. It's a city urban environment, so for all anyone knows, could be a homeless person, you know, in a back alley, you know, or I'm sure seedy stuff happens that people might not even bat an eye if they see him. Granted, though, he's his wardrobe, he stands out as a Jedi. So yes, for the first few hours before public, this is where I'm curious what the timeline is. When following Order 66 do we think civilians and people got wind Jedi equals bad? When do you think even a bounty could have been enlisted? If you see a Jedi, like, you think immediately?
Yeah, they see the smoke in the temple, and then Palpatine broadcasts to the entire Senate and the entire galaxy that, yeah, the Jedi tried to kill me. They're traitors.
Yeah, all right. Okay,
for
so
security
let's say,
and for your safety, we're now the Empire. And everybody's
say
like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Mace has maybe like 2 hours or whatnot that he's there before shiz really starts to hit the fan, and then he'd be recognizable.
What, that speech was the next day.
Oh, never mind. So he has a day.
He's
laying there
at night.
He's laying there.
Order 66 and Temple Raid actually happened.
True.
The next day.
That's right.
That's when Obi-Wan and Yoda go back to Coruscant and
that's right.
discover
True.
the
all right,
what has happened while Palpatine's giving the speech to the Senate.
Timeline doesn't matter too much, but that's good to know how long he has there to be out for the count, before people might recognize him, then see this fallen, literally, Jedi on the, you know, in this back alley, vulnerable, and bounties on his head, you know. So I hypothesize that I think somebody, like, takes him. I think somebody would have seen, oh, look at this Jedi robes, oh my god. So whether it's somebody who's looking for the bounty, somebody who's a Jedi sympathizer, some weird, maybe he gets lucky and it's someone who is able to mod, like what we saw in the Boba Fett show, although I know that wasn't as popularly accepted in the fandom, so maybe we'll cross that idea out. But I think I kind of want it to be like a dark, twisted, grim, like you said, he doesn't get lucky. I think he'd get lucky.
Someone finding him.
Can you let me finish? What are you gonna say?
Someone finding him is lucky.
No.
That means
depending if it's someone who's, my theory could be, I want this to be like dark, gritty, almost twisted, creepy, like the antithesis of luck. Because, yeah, it is lucky if someone finds him, happens to bring him into their home and heal him and help him recover and feed him soup. Yeah, that's the ideal scenario, best case.
We'll feed him cereal.
I'm thinking worst case, some either twisted person, somebody who has a vendetta against the Jedi, somebody who doesn't even want to bring him in and claim the bounty, somebody who wants to hurt him because they have such, like, hatred for the Jedi and now they can finally act on it. I feel like I want it to go a more of a, they wouldn't do this. See, mine's less plausible than Tom's, because I would want it to go down just one bad luck after the next, like the worst possible case scenarios. He gets not rescued, but imprisoned by somebody, like captured, that, or it is somebody who finds him, they're still a little bit twisted, so they just like put him in Bacta for a while to keep him, like they haven't figured out what they want to do with him yet. I want him to get, like, captured. That's where I want it to go. But then I don't know from there what I want him to do, which is why I toyed with the idea of, does he have amnesia? Does he even know what has happened to him? But that wouldn't really be eventful. I think it's better if he has revenge and wants to get out and wants to escape and wants to, you know, avenge himself. So I don't know how it would go, but that's all I know. I think he has, like, no life left in him. He either gets captured by somebody who wants to do him harm, or captured by somebody who is just doing these weird, like, experiments on him to try to keep him alive, keeps him in Bacta for a long time, and so when he eventually like wakes up, it could be interesting if there was a time jump and he's like, what year is it? And they say, I don't know if it's down into like original trilogy like timeline. But that still doesn't address.
You're totally losing me.
Listen, if you're gonna bring back Mace, this is why I was like, you gotta do something creative. You gotta do something to explain why he's been evading, why he was MIA. I just don't know. I don't have a larger story other than he's severely wounded, can't act on his own, can barely lift himself off the ground, and just leaves himself to die.
That's Darth Maul Part 2. Except we actually see it happen in live action.
That's true. That's true.
And that him getting captured is side questy. If you start off the first episode of the series, he gets captured. He's, oh, what is this? It's a whole new world. It's a whole new thing. It has nothing to do with the immediate premise of the main storyline of Revenge of the Sith and Order 66 and Fallout and Palpatine and Vader. If you start off, he's captured. He has to escape from some anti-Jedi communist goblin that takes him up and throws him in a Bacta tank. Like, that's all side questy. I'd say shove the side questy stuff to the side.
But it could explore another side of, one thing that I wanted to get out of like the Bad Batch time period, the era there, is like, where does public favor stand? How do they feel about the Empire? Are there Jedi sympathizers? Like, do they wish the Jedi were still around? Like, I think we've dabbled like a little bit into the Bad Batch, but that's something in that era that I personally would like to just see more of. Granted, reviving Mace, I don't think it's worth him just being the vessel for that, but it could be just interesting to see him get into the underbelly of what it's not so lucky to be a Jedi anymore, and he has, yes, large ambitions to get to Palpatine, but in order to get there, he has to even just get through surviving others who wish Jedi harm. The bounties on the Jedi. Granted, he's also in the biggest urban... He's in the most urban place that's probably being patrolled. Yeah.
It's the capital.
Yeah, so he has the hardest escape route. He has the hardest place to try to evade capture by the Empire or a bounty hunter, or worse. I mean, I guess worse would be the Empire, but maybe Mace was undercover this whole time. Yeah, Patrick, like, that's what he would have to do.
Yeah, he would
disguise, undercover, like, but he's in the worst possible place to do it. So I just think it's a much harder task. That's step one. How the frick would he even handle just getting around? Does he, stuff like that. So, especially on the planet, if they don't recover his body, they probably have they probably have a kill count going from Order 66 of, these are all the Jedi still at large, still alive, that could still be around. So, if it's kind of like a Jedi Fallen Order situation, Cal sees those projections of his face, his wanted poster, all the time wherever he goes. Like, that's what it would be like.
I think if they started off and he does see that, like, I think the only part you and I disagree on, immediately after the fall, what happens? Yeah. How does the fall happen? Everything after that, Mace is going to be
out for revenge.
He's going to be out for revenge. He's going to be lurking in Coruscant, trying to put a game plan together. He's going to be dealing with Order 66 and whether it's clones or the civilians and the political turmoil of what happens after Order 66. So I think that I think he's going to have to be faced with the fact that the political climate has changed and things are different. I do agree, though. How is he going to stay quiet enough to actually get towards the plan that we were talking about in the story?
I do agree that it should be freshly after Order 66, because whenever we meet surviving Jedi, typically it's a decade later, or it's been far removed from the fresh events. We don't really see any other Jedi necessarily, other than like Caleb Doom before he renames himself. We see, but that's not really super different from anything that we see necessarily other like what Yoda and Obi-Wan have to do. We see his escape, but then we don't see the fresh afterwards. You've lost everything. You've lost your master. You know, in Caleb Doom's situation, for example, you know, I don't think we've ever seen a Jedi freshly post Order 66, even just in that mental state, so helpless. There's a bounty, there's a target on your back. You're still in your Jedi robes. You're still identifiable. You know, we've never seen immediately ripe fresh after the majority of the turmoil. Like,
I mean, Bad Batch.
do we though?
Yeah. Takes place
What Jedi?
from Order 66 literally onward.
But we don't see any other. Do we see other Jedi in season 1? Other than the first episode of the Bad Batch, when they go and we see the Jedi on the stretchers with the cloaks over top of them. I don't think we see a fresh chase for other Jedi necessarily, other than Caleb Doom. That's like the opening sequence of Bad Batch, which is incredible.
When do we see Benji or Gunji?
Gunji.
Wookiee Jedi?
Muchi? Oh, Gunji. It was last season.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's still some time has passed. I want to see fresh when the stakes are the highest, and it's like your survival just because you escaped Order 66 and you got away from your clones. That does not mean that you survived, because many other Jedi probably, might have escaped their clones, but you know, didn't get so lucky. So like that time, that would be. I do agree that the time period, it should start fresh, right from there. But oh, that's true. Trilla's flashbacks. That's a good point, Stanley's. That's a good point.
That's a good point.
And it is a testament to, yes, some people got away, but they were hunted mercilessly, relentlessly. They weren't going to stop with a single one. Like, so, that would be a huge challenge for Mace. Also, just in the fact that Palpatine's especially, he knows he's on the planet. He's going to be looking for him. We're going to finish up tonight. This was a fun installment. Oh, come on.
That's too controversial.
What? We're gonna do our usual final poll for the evening, folks. I had a poll idea, but now Tom.
It's similar. I'm just slightly rewording it.
All right, here we go. Remember, Mace didn't like Anakin when he was a small boy. He didn't want the boy trained, and probably Mace wanted to be the one to bring balance to the Force. Yeah, I don't know if Mace ever had anything against Anakin. I think he had high expectations for him. And was, if anything, probably just disappointed that Anakin had that arrogance. I think Mace just had high standards for him. And yes, Anakin proved himself in many ways, but the mentality was one area where he always needed work, always needed correction, and wasn't just quite there yet. So I think that's what Mace... If anything, he probably saw the potential in Anakin, but was just disappointed that Anakin was his own biggest enemy, his own biggest obstacle, in his maturity. All right, here we go. Poll positions, everybody. In honor of the rumors, in honor of Sam Jackson's own words himself.
Sam Jackson, the GOAT.
Wanting to come back. Should they make a Mace Windu show? Yes or no? You may find one ready. I never liked Windu, especially after Dark Disciple. I'm still trying to get my hands on that. I'm still on the freaking wait list to get the audiobook. That is a hot commodity.
Yeah. I mean, what they did in the Clone Wars season 7 finale certainly didn't help Mace's character when he says the "sorry citizen" line.
Oh
to
yeah, dissing Ahsoka like that.
Yeah.
That, yeah, no, I hate that every second. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Every time I watch that, I hate it. Ooh, interesting. We got split.
Majority no.
Oh,
Majority
wow.
no.
Not my cup of tea.
50-50.
Oh man, I had a
Are we
feeling.
gonna go back to back? Last week it was 50-50 split too, right? Or is that 2
What was
weeks
the
ago?
poll last week? No, last week was the first 100% because it was, is Anakin gonna appear in Ahsoka season 2?
That's right.
And it was our first unanimous 100%.
Yes.
I think Mace saw himself in Anakin. That's why he didn't like him. Mace eventually learned how to control his anger and emotions, but Anakin never did. That's why Mace wanted to discipline him. That's a very good point. Right? I think he acknowledged Anakin professionally, his combat, as a commander, you know, as a hero, a soldier, but I think he always acknowledged that the biggest hurdle was his mentality, his maturity and arrogance.
Alice says she'd rather see
Oh,
Sid series than Mace.
Alex! I've never known you to have such strong feelings, girlfriend.
So Alice voted yes in the poll. Who else voted yes in the poll?
Stanley's another good point from Tales of the Jedi, stealing the council seat
True.
from Dooku didn't look so good. That optics-wise, that was not a good look.
Yeah,
that
so they're
was...
setting it up so that when Palpatine does brutally murder him on screen, and that's the end of the show, people aren't going to be up in arms like, oh my God.
Right.
It's not going to be a Luke Skywalker situation. It's going to be like, oh, finally. Anyone who hates Mace is going to be like, finally, he got what he deserved for being such a tyrant on the Jedi Council. He finally got what he deserved. Versus
true.
people who are going to be rooting for Mace, it's going to be a sad ending. It'll be an impactful ending.
I only have strong feelings for Mace. Right, Alice? I think you are not alone. I think he's one of the most divisive, polarizing, most debated characters in regards to, I know a lot of people suggest that if Mace had been a little bit nicer, I used to be of that opinion that if he had been nicer to Anakin, none of this would have happened, but I think that's putting a lot of unfair blame onto Mace and not enough on the fact that Anakin was his own demise, and Mace was maybe just a symptom, a factor of that, but no way, shape, or form the main instigator by any means. I think that kind of just alleviates all of the blame from Anakin, when I don't think Mace is deserving of that. But I used to be of that opinion. I think I've had live streams when I've been out here saying, yeah, if Mace was just a little bit nicer, none of this would have happened. But that's way too... That suggests that his interactions were that consequential with Anakin, when in reality, there were a lot of people chirping in Anakin's ear, and Mace was just one of them. So, 53% yes, 47%. So it's still sticking around. You're too good for this world. Yeah, I'm not. But thank you. I tried to see, people opened me up to the other perspective, and I was able to see how Mace still it's not like he doubted Anakin at every turn, you know. Anakin, when delivering the news of Palpatine, I think it's very telling that Mace immediately believes him and doesn't just say, give it time, sleep on it, you're wrong. Like, granted, that's huge news. It's huge news. It's not like just trying to spread a little rumor, but it was always very telling to me that he immediately trusts Anakin, immediately goes to act on it, and expresses to him, this is a big deal. Stay here. Like, I'm looking out for you. You're not ready for this. Let me handle this. And when I get back, like, you're my man. You know, that's kind of the subtext. There's a lot of care there. It's not like you can't come because I don't like you. It's, you are not ready. This is a big task. I'm looking out for you. You know, it's coming from a place of care, and not trying to intentionally leave Anakin out. So that's
Thanks,
why.
Charlie.
That's why I always I watch Tom's first. I would too. That's why I really freaking hope. I hope if anybody's watching from Lucasfilm, we just put this out there. We just put this out into the ether. Feel free to take it.
I do think, Stanley, as you made a comment earlier about doubting Mace would find Obi-Wan and Yoda. I agree. Right now, when I was putting this together, that's like, how does that actually happen?
Yeah.
Other than Mace is super powerful from the Force, Obi-Wan and Yoda are super powerful in the Force. There's a Force connection, and then, like, just like Yoda sensed that, oh, this is happening. If Mace has some resurgence in the Force or whatnot, maybe Yoda senses that, and then they try and connect. Like, I think it would have to be through the Force, or potentially through Bail Organa. Like, if through security footage that he reviews at the Jedi Temple, when he goes there, he sees that Bail is associated with Obi-Wan and Yoda. He could track down that Bail is alive, and then he forces Bail to take him to Obi-Wan or Yoda. That could be a plausible
Ooh, he
solution.
could totally
And I
intimidate
actually kind of
Bail.
like that better than the Force method.
That makes sense, because I also think Yoda, if he were responsible, first order of business for him getting to Dagobah would have shut himself off. Like,
Yep.
we know he doesn't sever himself from the Force, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked, because if he severely diminished his Force usage or severed it for a little bit, because yes, he's able to lift the starship out of the swamp, as we know in the original trilogy, and impress Luke, but like that's easy for Yoda, like Force or not, that's a child's play for him. So no, I think that
You like Bail better? I like.
I think it makes more sense.
I like that better.
It makes more sense.
Bring back Jimmy Smits.
Because that's also tough, because Bail is now the father of one of those children. It puts him in an extremely... There'd be so much tension. There would be so much tension in your hypothesis, your series. 50-50, let's end it here. Let's end it at exactly 50-50.
Dead
I love to just troll and do that.
Dead
This is so great. I love when we have split results. I think it's fun. Granted, last week was exciting when we had our first ever unanimous 100% vote, but I love the ones where it's mixed, because that's the truth of Star Wars, especially with Mace Windu. He is one of the most polarizing, most, I think, highly talked about, highly discussed, what if type scenarios, when it comes to him and Anakin and their interactions. So I knew as soon as I saw the news, it's been interesting to see other people's discourse about it on Twitter, see other people share their ideas, their reception. But of course, at the end of the day, it's really hard to dismiss if Samuel Jackson himself wants to come back and believes it himself that his character is alive. Why are they so obsessed with bringing everyone back? How will their deaths matter? Again, that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of the stream. Would it be a smart decision for Disney, this Disney era of Star Wars, which is very much already facing scrutiny for seemingly resurrecting everybody, and death kind of doesn't feel permanent, even grave injuries.
They'll prove it wrong at the end of this show.
But even grave injuries, there was so much debate over, for example, Sabine's wound versus Qui-Gon. I saw people trying to defend it so hard that they were mapping out the internal organs and the exact positioning of where each of them got shanked to prove a point and suggest that it would have been easier for Sabine to survive. I'm of the belief, sorry, I saw that and it made my jaw drop. I would have just ceased to exist if that happened to me, so I'm shocked that she survived, but, everyone, so it's very much... Things don't feel necessarily so consequential sometimes in current Star Wars, and so it would be a huge decision if they were to announce Mace Windu is alive and he's coming back and he's getting his own 8-part limited series on Disney+. That news would probably be the most polarizingly, is that a word, received and discussed and debated amongst the fandom. So it's interesting. Sam's out here stirring the pot, so we'll see if they ever act on it.
Good for him.
But
good for him.
But yeah, this was a very fun episode. We didn't disagree as much as I really thought we were going to, which is nice. A pleasant surprise.
No, you only disagreed with the first 15 minutes of,
and that was it,
the first
your
episode.
Screenplay.
So that's pretty good. Usually she maybe agrees with 15 minutes of the entire thing. So let's just disagree in the first 15 minutes.
We should do this again.
It's pretty good.
And theorize other shows, because it was also fun to hear from you guys as well throughout all of your guys' clever episode titles. We should just get our own little mini writer's room going over here, even if nothing ever comes to fruition, which is more likely than not, but it's more likely that none of this would happen than not. But it's still, this was very fun to be creative and just theorize and imagine what could be possible in this new era of Star Wars with the limited series and whatnot. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll catch you guys again next week, same time, same place. Appreciate all of your guys' interaction. Thank you to everybody who sent a little super chat. If you've subscribed, if this was your first stream, we appreciate it. We're glad you're here. We're grateful. Any final words, Director Tom?
Ending sponsor message. For those who might have missed the sponsor message in the beginning from Catherine LaSalle's art division. In celebration of Avatar, there's this new piece that is available that she crafted up. The Banished Prince. So if you're an Avatar fan looking for some new fresh decor in the build up to the Netflix series, CatherineLaSalle.com, that is available. So
Yes. Tom's better at promoting me than I am. Thank goodness one of us is good at it.
Anyway, no, this was fun. Thank you all for tuning in and going back and forth with us. It's always fun. Lots of good theories. But yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff. Is next week Avatar week? Does it come out next week?
It is. So next Wednesday is Bad Batch, and then next Thursday is Avatar. So this is the calm before the storm, folks. I'm about to be in a frenzy next week. So
big week next week.
Yes, we'll catch you guys. We'll have a big. We should like rewatch Bad Batch before then, and next Tuesday maybe our episode will just be Bad Batch pregame. Yes, Tom and my mom are my biggest cheerleaders. They plug me more than I plug myself. But yeah, stay tuned. Next week's gonna be an exciting episode. We'll probably cover some Bad Batch, Avatar, all of the above. Get excited for the week ahead. But until then, for this week, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., whatever time it may be, wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in from. We appreciate it. It's always good to see you guys. And we will see you guys again very, very soon.
No.
Bye. Whoops.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, friends.
And week. Ooh.